everyone. Good afternoon and happy Wednesday. We are almost to Friday, but I'm really excited to have Rob Davis join us this afternoon and talk about his experience in joining the Fraternity and Sorority Life community a few years ago. He's now an alumni. So if this is your first time joining us, this is 90 Stories for 90 Years. So Fraternity for Life at DePaul University is celebrating 90 years on campus. And to celebrate that milestone, we are interviewing 90 faculty, staff, students, and alumni about their experience. And so we are excited to hear from Rob today. So Rob, can you kind of just kick us off with an introduction?
Yeah, I'm Rob Davis. I graduated from DePaul in 2019, so not long ago. I majored in secondary education, mathematics, so I'm a high school math teacher. And I'm from Des Plaines, Illinois, which is very, very close to Chicago, pretty much right next to O'Hare. And while at DePaul, I was a Pi Kappa Phi, and I was on IFC's exec board as vice president of recruitment.
Nice. So I know you just said that you live, you're from Des Plaines, which is pretty close to the city. So why did you choose to come to DePaul?
So it's actually kind of, I don't know if it's a funny story, but to me, it's just like, it makes no sense. I went and obviously visited DePaul, toured it, and I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is the education program I want. But the high school rebellion in me was like, I need to get as far away as Des Plaines as possible. And I was set in stone to go to Montana State University, which completely different than anything around here. And my parents took me to go visit their campus. And in that one visit, I was like, absolutely not. I do not belong here. It is November, or either November, October, and it's already like snowing. This is too early. Like, yes, I'm used to it, but no, I do not belong here. And so I revisited, went back like DePaul, and I was like, you know what? I can sacrifice being so close to home because like DePaul is one, an amazing school, two, in the city of Chicago, and three, I know that as an education major, I'm going to get so much more experience with like urban and school suburban settings. And so DePaul was like the right fit for me.
That's awesome. And I think you really had like a really cool and unique journey at DePaul because you started a fraternity. And so can you talk about that experience of being a founding member of Pi Kappa Phi at DePaul?
Yeah, so I joined Pi Cap my sophomore year, and I remember being reached out by a friend who was in a sorority, and she was telling me, hey, there's a new chapter coming to DePaul. Like, I think you would like be an awesome fit. And I kind of had this idea of joining a fraternity in the back of my like mind, my freshman year and going into my sophomore year, just because a lot of my best friends in high school all joined either a sorority or a fraternity. And I always wanted to, but I was always scared. I didn't really want to take that like leap of faith per se. And after I was just like, you know what, like this opportunity presented itself, I talked to Colton. So I believe Eric talked a little bit about Colton and his experience, and very similar. He kind of like was very just like understanding of where I was coming from with my kind of like shyness, timidness towards joining a fraternity. But I mean, if it weren't for him and like the others who helped, like I don't think I would have been in this place. And thanks to, Colton, I became the founding historian. and had a whole journey with that that really did have a big and good impact on like my life. And as you were there with me, right, this whole historian journey, it involved me, you know, keeping track of chapter history, helping us get chartered, creating this book that described the chapter's history of events and accomplishments and all the great and amazing things we did as a chartering fraternity. And to end it all, had to plan the whole chartering banquet downtown, which was, I believe, like an amazing experience that I don't think I'll like be able to forget. And I hope, you know, as like you were there, all the other people who were invited had a good time as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember that. I feel like it feels like so long ago, but also not ago at the same time. And it was just a really, really fun night and a rewarding night, right? I mean, you were a new fraternity that chartered very quickly and has continued to do well. And I know you kind of, you know, started talking about it, but you, you know, just when you ended up deciding to come to DePaul, you knew you would be able to really dive deep into working as a teacher in an urban, diverse environment. So can you tell us a little bit more what you've been up to since graduating and how your experience in PiCap helped you to achieve your career goals?
Yeah, so right after I graduated, you know, it's summertime, and that was like the perfect opportunity to just start looking for teaching positions just because, hey, everyone's on vacation, you know, and school's not really in session. And so I was lucky enough to get an interview with the school that I actually student taught at my senior year. And the school is located in Pilsen on the Lower West Side of Chicago. And ever since then, it's been such a roller coaster. As we saw last year, you know, all the teachers went on strike in CPS. And so that was like my first introduction into being a teacher is, hey, we're going on strike. And that was worth it. It was so empowering. And, you know, I think it made me become a better teacher. And then later on, you know, we were a few months later into school and the pandemic hit, and I was now forced to go into remote learning, which we're still doing. And as much as it is challenging, I would rather be, you know, suffering in my house, teaching and inspiring these kids than seeing anyone in danger, you know. And this year I was blessed to teach 5 freshman classes, which everyone kind of gets scared about teaching freshmen. You know, you have to deal with 14 and 15-year-olds who just left middle school. But honestly, I really love teaching freshmen, which I don't think I would say that like beginning of my education career, but I really love working with them. They're such a fun bunch, and I'm having kind of like the best time right now.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, speaking of PiCap and all that, I think if it weren't for, you know, my experience with PiCap, I don't think I would have even been able to join and be on IFC's exec. And through IFC's exec and through being on e-board on PiCap, I got to do a lot of work with mental health, you know, and focusing on men and mental health. And that really has kind of helped me as an educator right now. You know, it's taught me the ability to empathize as an educator, you know, especially in today's social climate. And I'm able to not only spread the message of men and mental health to my freshman boys, but also to the whole class as well. And I don't think if it weren't for all those workshops and meeting certain people who are involved in this mental health space, I wouldn't be able to provide that for my students.
That's awesome. And I know you talked about you had a role in Pi Kappa Phi, but then you also went on to serve on the Interfraternity Council board. And so you talk about the lessons that you learned from being an FSL leader, and maybe talk through, what were some challenging parts, but also really rewarding at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely say one of the big lessons I learned is, well, I don't know if it's a lesson, but I guess it's one big lesson, is this idea of growth. And it took me maybe a year after kind of retiring from that position where I really learned a lot about myself and was really able to reflect, in particular about the challenges. There were a lot of challenges that came with being vice president of recruitment. And there was budgeting issues, sometimes you were panicking about events, all this different stuff, and you're trying to work so hard on maneuvering this. You're going to different offices, whether it was yours, whether it was Ange, or whether it was David, like thinking it's the end of the world because you're so stressed. But in hindsight, like, you realize how almost minuscule those problems really were. Like, at the time you were like, it's the end of the world. And later on, you're like, it really was not the end of the world. And you grow from that because you see how you handled that. And you're like, all right, maybe next time I shouldn't be freaking out or stressing about these little things, when at the end of the day, it was so manageable and so easy to handle at the end of the day. And in terms of like my favorite parts, meeting everyone as recruitment chair was so awesome. You're meeting different people from different parts of like the country, different parts of the world. And I mean, it taught me how to like communicate with people, right? You're communicating with people from everywhere. Not everyone has the same maybe culture or mindset as you. And so you're able to see that and kind of challenge your own mindset and ideas.
That's awesome. So I think, you kind of mentioned like going to the Office of Student Involvement when a problem arises, so like really seeking out that guidance. So who was a mentor or an advisor that made an impact on your experience, and why?
So the two people that really stick out to me, and it was a very like short period though, was Nick Ventola, who was our advisor in PICAP when we first began to charter, and Ali Kalina, who helped and worked with IFC. And although I didn't get to work with them for a long period of time, I think the quality advice they gave me in that short period of time I was able to work with them really stuck with me. I think going in as a sophomore, I was very insecure, very shy, and especially in this kind of like big world of FSL. And they really helped me find like my voice, right? A lot of times they saw how down I was or how stressed out I was, and they showed me kind of like what it means to stand up for myself and to always fight my inner demons when I'm doubting something or I'm not sure. And my favorite, best like memory was when I told Ali Kalina how I had really bad anxiety about calling places to find banquets for the PICAP charter. And she like sat me down and she's like, here's the phone. We're going to do this together. And we're going to get through this kind of stress and anxiety. And to this day, anytime I do feel stressed out, especially when I have to like call parents at school, like I just replay that memory of Ali just being like, all right, we're going to do this together. And you got this. I'm here for you. If anything happens, look at me and I got you.
That's awesome. And I think it's really cool that, you found an advisor, through PICAP, but then also DePaul as well. And I think that's such a great message for students that you can have more than one, mentor or advisor that provides you guidance, because each person can provide guidance in different ways or on a different topic as well.
And it really doesn't matter how long you know them. It really matters about the quality and who the people you go to, which definitely changed my life.
That's awesome. So can I talk a little bit more about Pi Cap? We're going to continue on this journey. So what is your favorite value, or if there's a certain phrase that it really aligns with your own personal values?
Yeah, so one of the Pi Cap values that really resonates with me, and it continues to resonate with me through my continued journey as an alumni, is this idea of achievement. And off the bat, you think achievement and you think kind of these riches and glories, but that's not really what this value means. It means you finding your passion and excelling in it. And it's exactly what I found with my own with teaching. I found my passion in teaching, and now I'm continuing this journey, whether it's a couple months from now or 10 years from now. I know that this is where I belong. This is my passion, and I'm going to continue doing this. And I continue to spread this message even to my students. I tell them, I'm like, if you love something, go for it. Whatever the journey may take, if you love something, take that leap of faith, do whatever it takes in order for you to achieve your dreams.
So it sounds like you had a phenomenal experience in Pi Cap. So talk to us a little bit about what Brotherhood means to you.
So to me, my idea of Brotherhood may be a little kind of unconventional than what maybe others have said, in the sense that I have an undying love for my Pi Cap brothers, my fraternity brothers, but I also find Brotherhood in love and appreciation for the people I worked with on the exec team for IFC. Although they were not necessarily in my own fraternity, to them, they are my brothers, right? I worked with them. I went through the lows of lows and the highs and highs. And additionally, even my friends who were women in Panhandle, right? They were there for me through my lows and lows and my highs. So that to me is what Brotherhood really is that unconditional support. And I don't think I really say this enough, but even if, we're miles away, my love and appreciation for them and the memories that I've had with them and the experiences I've had with them will always be there for me, with me, till years on, And I know they say, everyone that probably has said this, that it's not 4 years, it's for life. Hands down, that is such a true statement. A lot of the people you've interviewed or who have been interviewed for the 90 stories, they're some of my closest friends who I still talk to and hang out today.
That's awesome. So, you kind of talked about you were a little hesitant in joining Fraternity and Sorority Life, and then you end up founding a chapter. So what is your advice for someone who is interested in joining our community or is a little bit hesitant and is kind of on the fence of joining?
Yeah, my advice to them is, as I said earlier, take that leap of faith, right? There is no harm in trying something. And as I tell my students all the time, you don't learn if you don't do something, right? So if someone's on the fence or is still thinking about it, I highly recommend trying it, right? You have that couple months where you get to almost get a taste of what fraternity or sorority life is all about. And if you feel this is right for you, well, you're there. You got it, right? So take that leap of faith and go for it.
So in closing, this is our last question for you. What was your favorite memory of being in your organization?
There has to have been plenty, but to narrow it down, I would definitely say my all-time favorite memory was AFLV.
Of course.
and that I feel like everyone has probably said that.
Yes.
But AFLV was definitely a really fun and awesome experience that I was able to learn so much about as a leader, but also like being able to meet like Casey Cornelius, who is also a Pi Cap, and bringing him to DePaul. Like I wouldn't have been able to do that if it weren't for AFLV. I wouldn't have been able to be as close to my IFC exec brothers or like the women of Panhell if it weren't for AFLV. And it just shows also that it's a small world. Like I knew someone at AFLV who I went to high school with, but they happened to be at a chapter at a different school. And it really does show you that this world is small, but there's so much to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Rob, for joining us this afternoon. It was great to kind of go back on memory lane and talk about your experience about being a founding member and, now what you're up to after graduation. So everyone, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We will have another story coming tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Bye.